The quaint suburbs of Dayton, Ohio, painted a portrait of idyllic family life. Jessica and Michael Anderson, a kindergarten teacher and an Army veteran, sought solace in this peaceful community, unaware of the darkness lurking beneath their perfect life. Jessica and Michael equipped their home with the latest technology to ensure Emma's safety. Their state-of-the-art baby monitor, designed to provide peace of mind, would soon become a portal to something sinister. Emma, with her infectious laughter, became the center of their universe. The baby monitor, a constant presence, provided comfort as they marveled at her every milestone. Their hearts overflowed with a love they never knew existed. Amidst the joy of new parenthood, a subtle shift occurred. Jessica felt watched, shadows lingered, and the house's creaks became unsettling. Michael reassured her, but even he couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. He found himself lying awake, listening for any sound out of place. During the witching hour, a whisper pierced the silence of the nursery. Jessica, exhausted, heard a faint, barely audible whisper from the baby monitor. Her rational mind sought an explanation, but a primal fear took root. The whisper returned, louder and clearer, speaking intimate details of their lives. Sleep became a distant memory, as they spent nights huddled in Emma's room, glued to the baby monitor. Fear morphed into paranoia, questioning everything and everyone. The voice resurrected long-forgotten memories, childhood nicknames, and intimate details. Jessica's comforting memories were tainted with unease as the voice twisted their past. Michael felt exposed as the voice revealed his deepest vulnerabilities. During a storm, the voice uttered a name that shattered Jessica's composure. Margaret, her late mother. The voice's knowledge of her mother struck them both as deeply unsettling. The storm raged outside, mirroring the turmoil within their hearts. The voice delved into Michael's military past, unearthing a secret he had sworn never to reveal. Michael's stoicism crumbled, replaced by raw vulnerability. Jessica listened in horror, feeling powerless to shield him from this unseen tormentor. The whispers evolved, transforming into pronouncements about the minutiae of their daily lives, details so specific, so seemingly insignificant, that it borderlined on the absurd. The voice commented on their choice of paint color for the nursery, on the brand of coffee they preferred, on the exact words of an argument they had whispered behind closed doors just the day before. It was the mundane nature of these pronouncements that truly terrified them, laying bare the extent to which their privacy had been invaded. It was no longer just their past, their secrets that were being violated, but the very fabric of their present lives, their daily routines, their most private conversations, all laid bare before this unseen observer. The voice seemed to revel in their discomfort, in the knowledge that it held them captive in a web of fear of its own making. The once comforting silence of their home had become a cacophony of suspicion, every creak of the floorboard, every rustle of leaves outside the window, sending their hearts racing, their minds conjuring up images of unseen eyes peering in, of unseen ears listening to their every word. The life they had so carefully constructed, the life they had envisioned for themselves and their daughter, was crumbling around them, replaced by a chilling uncertainty, a gnawing sense of dread that permeated every aspect of their existence. The once welcoming walls of their home now felt like the bars of a prison, their sanctuary transformed into a stage for their tormentor. Jessica and Michael found themselves walking on eggshells, their voices hushed, their movements guarded, as if the very air they breathed was being monitored, their every action scrutinized by the unseen entity that held them captive in its web of fear. The laughter that had once filled their home was replaced by a stifling silence, punctuated only by the gentle hum of the baby monitor, a constant reminder of the unseen menace that lurked in the shadows. They stopped inviting friends and family over, their once warm home now exuding an oppressive aura of fear and suspicion, a palpable tension that hung heavy in the air. They tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy for Emma's sake, but their fear was contagious. Jessica found herself constantly checking on her daughter, her hand hovering protectively over Emma's tiny chest as if to ward off an unseen threat. Michael, unable to shake the image of an intruder lurking in the shadows, took to sleeping with a baseball bat beside the bed, his sleep punctuated by nightmares of unseen forces and whispered threats. The once unthinkable had become their reality. Their home, their sanctuary, the place where they were supposed to feel safest, had become the very epicenter of their fear, a constant reminder that they were no longer in control, that their lives were at the mercy of an unseen, unknowable entity that seemed to delight in their terror. Desperate for answers, for a reprieve from the relentless torment, Jessica and Michael turned to the authorities. They contacted the Dayton Police Department, their voices trembling as they recounted the chilling events that had unfolded in their once peaceful home. The officer who responded to their call, a seasoned veteran with a kind face and a reassuring demeanor, listened patiently to their story, his brow furrowing with concern as they described the disembodied voice, the intimate knowledge it possessed, the escalating fear that had come to define their lives. Despite his initial skepticism, the officer, a father himself, recognized the genuine terror in their eyes, the raw desperation that clung to their every word. He meticulously inspected their home, searching for any signs of forced entry, any hidden cameras or listening devices that could explain the invasive nature of the voice. He dusted for fingerprints, checked window locks, and even crawled through the attic and under the house, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness, searching for any logical explanation for the phenomena that had invaded their lives. His efforts, however, proved fruitless. The house, aside from the slight disarray born of their frantic search for answers, yielded no clues, no evidence of any intruder, no logical explanation for the voice that haunted their waking hours and invaded their dreams. The officer, though sympathetic to their plight, found himself at a loss, unable to offer them anything more than platitudes and promises of increased patrols in their neighborhood. The weight of his inability to help settled heavily on his shoulders as he drove away from their home, the image of their faces, etched with a mixture of fear and disappointment, seared into his memory. He had seen his fair share of strange occurrences during his years on the force, but something about the Anderson story, the sheer inexplicability of it all, left him deeply unsettled, a nagging feeling that he had stumbled upon something truly sinister, something beyond the realm of his understanding. Undeterred by the police's inability to find any rational explanation, Jessica and Michael sought answers in the realm of technology. They contacted a reputable cybersecurity firm, their hopes clinging to the possibility that the voice, however improbable, was the result of some sophisticated hacking scheme, some digital intrusion into their lives. A team of tech specialists, armed with an arsenal of gadgets and a wealth of knowledge about the dark underbelly of the internet, descended upon their home. They meticulously examined the baby monitor, dissecting its circuitry, analyzing its software, searching for any vulnerability, any backdoor that could have been exploited by a malicious actor. They scanned their home network, their phones, their laptops, leaving no digital stone unturned in their quest to uncover the source of the voice. Their efforts, however, proved as futile as the police investigation. The baby monitor, despite their best efforts to find a flaw, remained an enigma, its technology seemingly impenetrable. There was no evidence of any unauthorized access, no trace of malware, no indication that the device had been tampered with in any way. The tech specialists, baffled by their findings, could offer no explanation for the phenomena that had invaded the Andersons' home. The voice, it seemed, existed outside the realm of their understanding, a digital ghost in the machine, defying all logic and reason. They packed up their equipment, their faces etched with a mixture of professional curiosity and personal unease, leaving Jessica and Michael to grapple with the chilling reality that the voice, whatever its origins, remained undetected, its motives unknown, its power to terrorize them absolute. A distorted image on the baby monitor, flashes of static obscuring Emma's crib, the sound of a deafening scream echoing from the speaker. The voice, which had haunted their nights with whispers and unsettling pronouncements, took on a new terrifying tone. No longer content with mere psychological torment, it escalated its attacks, its whispers transforming into guttural growls, the words laced with a palpable malice that chilled them to the bone. "Get out!" it hissed, the voice a raspy whisper that seemed to claw its way out of the baby monitor speaker. "Get out now, or she pays the price!" The threat hung heavy in the air, a promise of violence that shattered their last vestiges of hope. They had endured sleepless nights, whispering anxieties, and the constant fear that gnawed at their sanity, but the thought of their precious Emma coming to harm, of this malevolent entity making good on its threats, was unbearable. Jessica, her maternal instincts kicking in, felt a surge of protectiveness so fierce it bordered on primal. She clutched Michael's hand, her grip so tight it turned his knuckles white, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and determination. "We need to take Emma and leave," she whispered, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and resolve. "We need to leave now." Michael, his usual stoicism replaced by a primal urge to protect his family, nodded in agreement. He grabbed the baseball bat he had taken to keeping by the bed, its solid weight offering a small measure of comfort in the face of the unknown terror that had invaded their home. They moved quickly, but silently, their eyes darting between the baby monitor and the nursery door, their hearts pounding in unison with the frantic rhythm of their footsteps. They threw open the door to Emma's room, their breath catching in their throats as their eyes frantically searched the room, their minds struggling to process the impossible scene before them. The crib, which had been Emma's sanctuary, her safe haven in a world that had suddenly turned menacing, was empty. The blankets were tossed aside as if in haste, and the mobile that hung above the crib swayed gently, its cheerful melody jarringly at odds with the chilling emptiness that had descended upon the room. "Emma!" Jessica called out, her voice a strangled whisper, her eyes scanning every corner of the room, searching for any sign of her daughter. "Emma, where are you?" The only response was the echo of her own voice, bouncing off the walls of the now silent nursery. The baby monitor lay on the floor, its screen dark, its silence deafening in the wake of the terror it had unleashed upon their lives. Michael, his face ashen, moved through the room with the precision of a soldier, his eyes scanning for any sign of forced entry, any indication that an intruder had been in the room. He checked the closet, his heart sinking as he found nothing but Emma's tiny clothes hanging neatly in a row. He threw open the window, his eyes scanning the backyard, the street beyond, searching for any sign of movement, any clue that could lead them to their daughter. The silence, broken only by the sound of their own ragged breathing, was unbearable. It was a silence pregnant with fear, with the crushing weight of their worst nightmare realized. Their daughter, their precious Emma, was gone, vanished without a trace, leaving behind only an empty crib and a chilling silence that spoke volumes about the evil that had invaded their home. Just as despair threatened to consume them, a sound, faint but unmistakable, pierced the silence. It was a cry, muffled but filled with a terror that sent a fresh wave of adrenaline coursing through their veins. It was coming from the closet. The closet. Michael had just checked it, hadn't he? He distinctly remembered throwing open the door, his heart sinking as he found nothing but Emma's tiny clothes hanging neatly in a row. Had he somehow overlooked her? Had she been hiding in there all along, too terrified to make a sound? He lunged for the closet door, throwing it open with a force that sent it slamming against the wall. There, huddled in the corner, her tiny body shaking with sobs, was Emma. She was unharmed, but her eyes were wide with terror, her face streaked with tears, her tiny hands clutching her favorite stuffed animal as if it were a lifeline. Relief washed over them, so profound it left them weak-kneed and breathless. Jessica scooped Emma into her arms, burying her face in her daughter's soft hair, inhaling the sweet scent of baby shampoo and the reassuring warmth of her tiny body. She held her close, as if she could shield her from the horrors of the world, as if her love alone could erase the terror that had gripped their lives. But even as they held their daughter close, a chilling question echoed in the silence of their minds. How had she gotten into the closet? And more importantly, how had the door closed behind her? They distinctly remembered Michael checking the closet, finding it empty. They had been in the room the entire time, their eyes glued to the baby monitor, their ears attuned to every sound. There was no logical explanation for how Emma could have moved from her crib to the closet, unnoticed, unheard, as if she had been transported there by an unseen hand. The events of that night, the escalating terror, the empty crib, the impossible reappearance of their daughter, chipped away at the foundations of their sanity. They had always considered themselves rational people, grounded in logic and reason, but the events of that night defied explanation, challenging their very perception of reality, leaving them teetering on the precipice of madness. The voice on the baby monitor had not only invaded their home, it had invaded their minds, planting seeds of doubt and fear that threatened to blossom into full-blown paranoia. They were left questioning everything they thought they knew, every sight, every sound, suspecting that the nightmare was far from over, that the unseen force that had tormented them was still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the opportune moment to strike again. The events of that night proved to be the breaking point for Jessica and Michael. The terror that had seeped into their lives, the palpable sense of dread that clung to every corner of their home, became unbearable. They knew with a certainty that transcended logic and reason that they could no longer stay in that house, that the walls themselves seemed to whisper secrets of fear and despair. The decision to leave was made quickly, fueled by a primal instinct to protect their daughter, to escape the unseen menace that had invaded their sanctuary. Within days they were gone, their belongings packed hastily into boxes, the furniture draped in white sheets, giving their once warm home the eerie air of a mausoleum. The moving truck pulled away from the curb, carrying with it not just their possessions but the shattered remnants of their dreams, their hopes of a peaceful life in the suburbs reduced to a pile of cardboard boxes and shattered illusions. As they drove away, Emma safely strapped into her car seat in the back, Jessica couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that unseen eyes followed their every move. She kept glancing at the rearview mirror, expecting to see a shadowy figure lurking in the back seat, to hear the chilling whisper of the voice on the baby monitor, taunting them with their helplessness. Michael, his hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles had turned white, kept his eyes fixed on the road ahead, as if by sheer willpower he could outrun the terror that had haunted their lives. He too felt the weight of unseen eyes upon them, the oppressive sense that their ordeal was far from over, that the unseen force that had tormented them had followed them, its grip on their lives as strong as ever. The Andersons' house stood empty, a testament to the terror that had transpired within its walls. Neighbors who had once exchanged friendly waves and shared cups of sugar now avoided the property, their whispers following the house like a curse. The lawn grew wild, the grass a tangled mess, the flower beds choked with weeds, as if nature itself was reclaiming the space, erasing any trace of the family that had once found solace within its walls. The for sale sign, planted firmly in the front yard, remained unanswered, a silent beacon in the gathering gloom. Prospective buyers, drawn in by the house's charm and the promise of a peaceful suburban life, invariably found themselves unable to shake the unsettling feeling that something was amiss. The air inside the house felt heavy, the silence oppressive, as if the walls themselves were whispering secrets of fear and despair. Realtors, their initial enthusiasm dampened by the house's eerie stillness, found themselves at a loss to explain the palpable sense of unease that permeated every room. They spoke in hushed tones of bad vibes and negative energy, their words doing little to dispel the chilling truth that hung heavy in the air. The house was not merely empty, it was haunted by the memory of terror, its silence more deafening than any scream. The Andersons, their lives forever altered by their ordeal, never returned to the house on Whisper Creek Lane. They moved on, seeking solace in a new home, a new town, their past a haunting reminder that even in the most idyllic of settings, darkness can lurk beneath the surface, waiting for the opportune moment to reveal itself, to shatter the illusion of safety and leave behind a legacy of fear. The mystery of the voice on the baby monitor remained unsolved, a chilling enigma that continued to haunt the quiet suburbs of Dayton, Ohio. No explanation, no rational theory could fully account for the terror that had unfolded in the Andersons' home. The voice, with its intimate knowledge of their lives, its ability to manipulate technology and its chilling threats, defied logic and reason, leaving behind a residue of fear that lingered long after the Andersons had moved on. Was it a sophisticated hacker, their motives shrouded in mystery, their methods seemingly impossible to trace? Or was there a more sinister explanation, something that transcended the realm of technology and delved into the darkest corners of the human psyche, something ancient and malevolent, feeding on the fear and vulnerability of its victims? The questions lingered, unanswered, like whispers in the night. They echoed through the empty rooms of the house on Whisper Creek Lane, a constant reminder that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, that some doors are best left unopened, lest the darkness that lies beyond seep into our world, forever tainting our perception of safety and security. The voice on the baby monitor served as a chilling reminder that in an age of interconnectedness, where technology permeates every aspect of our lives, our most private moments, our deepest fears, are never truly safe from prying eyes, from unseen forces that lurk in the shadows, waiting for the opportune moment to reveal themselves, to shatter the fragile illusion of our carefully constructed realities.